Hello, I am Dan.
And I'm Max.
And this is Fightography. Now this week, we have what I'm sure is to be a popular episode. It's
interesting.
A brilliant man. He's got a range of iconic roles behind him.
Okay.
Fresh off 2 different culturally relevant projects, which have like a weird little connection between them, if that gives anything away. It is one Mr. Matt Berry.
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry. Matt Berry is this week's Fightography.
Interesting. We've delved into the realm of television. Oh, of course, because he's in Boba Fett, isn't he? I see.
Exactly. He's in both Toast of Tinseltown and Book of Boba Fett, which have like a weird little connection, because in Toast of Tinseltown, the whole central concept of that is that Toast has made it in Hollywood because he's got a part in the new Star Wars movie. And sure enough, the same week that is released.
In the TV show, is it actually Star Wars, or is it just generic sci-fi Hollywood movie?
Oh no, it's actually Star Wars, but like it's Toast to Star Wars, so it's like a bit of a send-up.
I wonder if that was in one of his contracts. I'll work on Star Wars with you, but you've got to give me like the rights to kind of use it. That probably could have anyway.
Well, that's it.
Funny image. Him like demanding, not a fee or anything. He just, I want to use Star Wars in my own TV show.
Yeah, it's weird because obviously he says the name Star Wars, but like on the actual set, you don't get Mark Hamill or Boba Fett walking around. It's sort of like when they do Doctor Who, you have like generic looking sci-fi people, but it's supposedly Star Wars.
That sounds about right. Interesting, Matt Berry. We love Matt Berry. We're huge.
We do love Matt Berry.
Absolutely adore the man.
We stan, you could say. Yeah. So have you any favourite roles of his, Max, that you hope might crop up on this list?
Oh, that's a loaded question, because I think I'm going to have to go with... Well, he was introduced to me in IT Crowd. And just the father... that's just so memorable. I like him in What We Do in the Shadows, of course. And he's going to be a strong one, because he's a literal vampire. So that's going to be interesting. I'm trying to think of more Matt Berry characters, and I feel that a lot of them are human. So I feel that there is going to be immediately a strong confidence from vampire Matt Berry, but we'll have to see.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. A lot of his characters are seemingly normal humans.
Yeah.
However, Matt Berry logic, they all seem to be unkillable, which we'll go into as we go and take them one by one. So I'm not sure our battle can ever end. I think that it's just going to go on forever with our competitors.
And you thought
never
about
dying.
this before deciding to choose him for a fight to the death. The fact that they're all immortal, which makes our lives very fucking difficult.
We can play it by like laser tag rules, if need be. So, all right, you've lost all 4 of your limbs. You're out.
Well, I guess let's get into it. I'm quite eager. I want to see who we have on the table.
So
So
number 1 on our list, one of his most famous roles. So a good one to start with. It's Mr. Stephen Toast from Toast of London and now Toast of Tinseltown. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, that's a strong start.
Now, what do you think of Toast of London / Tinseltown, Max? Have you seen the new one yet?
I saw, controversial. I saw half of it. The interesting thing is I really love Matt. I think Matt Berry is sort of one of those people that his sort of style is so left field, is so different, so original to everyone else that it makes him immensely watchable, and he's funny. And basically, 90% of the comedy shows I've seen him in, he's been the best character, or at least certainly like battling for the best character. He steals the show.
Oh yeah.
But I've never quite got into Toast of London, and I really don't know why. I don't know what the difference is, because there are really funny moments. Like I watched the first couple of series. I don't know how many series or seasons or whatever there are, but I've definitely I think seen the first two. I might have seen the third if there is a third one. But yeah, it's weird. I don't have the same kind of love that I do for the other shows he's in. I don't know if it's sort of a thing that I think Matt Berry works as sort of a side character who, you know, that kind of lovable sort of third character who sort of steals the show every time. And if now that he's in the realm of sort of a lead, I don't know if it's maybe just not worked on me as it has for everyone else. Saying that, you know, the gags the weekly gags, the Clem Fandango things, that's immensely fun to watch. You know, I haven't binge watched it, and I'm not as big a fan of it as I am with his other projects, but it's still got really good, funny, clever moments.
Yeah. Controversial, but yeah, I see your point. I think what it is, Toast of London is like undiluted Matt Berry, because he's very much at the lead and like the director, producer, I imagine, or whatever. Yeah. Whereas everything else, it's like little doses of Berry, but Toast of London, it's a real acquired taste, I think. Also, my diction has just dramatically improved.
that could be true, because the whole show is very kind of Matt Berry humour, and maybe I subconsciously feel his comedy works when everyone else is sort of doing their own thing, albeit, you know, being on a sort of, you know, ITV crowd.
That's the new spin-off.
The Piers Morgan.
Oh God.
Trevor McDonald, because I don't know any other TV presenters than one that retired 10 years
Susanna
ago.
Reid.
Yeah.
All your lovable characters.
But yeah, crowds.
Piers, that lovable scamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IT crowd is still like really wacky and funny and bizarre and has like an immensely rich style, but it's sort of not quite Matt Berry style, so he's able to really stand out in it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. I don't know. Like, I don't have an answer. I don't know why it's Toast hasn't sort of struck me as well as the other ones have. But that's, I guess, my theory.
That's fair. Yeah, it's certainly a very oddball show, much like Matt Berry himself is quite the oddball. But yeah, I dig it personally. I'm a big fan of Stephen Toast.
I like the theme tune.
Yes.
I don't know if
he plays that in the.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get singer Matt Berry.
Wow, just you wait and see.
Because it's quite. I remember seeing a video where he got a BAFTA, and they were doing like an interview with him like after he won his BAFTA, and like the whole like interview, I think he's sitting in like a music booth, and sort of he's talking about this BAFTA win, but he's very clearly trying to just do music and like do his album and stuff. So it's also quite interesting that he's clearly. I don't know if he's more passionate about music, but music seems to be quite a strong passion of his. So, I
think it is, and I think generally speaking, Matt Berry's not a big giver of interviews. He seems to be like quite. I don't want to say shy, but yeah, he just doesn't like giving them. Just fair enough. Yeah. Piss off! I've got music to make. I can't be arsed with this, Jane. Oh, I fucking love Matt Berry. So yeah, Stephen Toast. I think he's going to be a pretty strong competitor because going off what I said earlier, he's got that. I mean, in Toast of Tinseltown, spoilers for everything we mentioned on our list. You'll hear them as we go through them, by the way, dear listener. So yeah, spoilers for Toast of Tinseltown. He gets his arm chewed off by a tiger at one point, and then brushes it off with relative ease. So, he gets thrown out of a moving vehicle onto a motorway 4 times, and he's fine. So yeah, he's going to be a tough one to kill.
So what are we seeing are his sort of strengths going into this? Is it the sense that he's just maybe not immortal, but he's got severely high pain tolerance?
Yeah, he can take a good beating, and he does. He's a bit of a brawler. He's had a few scraps with Ray Purchase and the like over the series. Yeah, so he's got some classic Matt Berry moves. Bit of a brawler. High pain threshold. Yeah. In terms of weapons, he's not really got anything other than his amazing voice.
He holds a quill, doesn't he? On like the posters and stuff. Maybe we could give him a quill.
He does. If we're being generous, because he doesn't really use it in the series, but if we're being generous, we'll give him a quill. We can, I'm sure, utilise his sound booth in some way as his special move. That's his iconic location. Well, maybe he can use it as like a shelter.
Well, here's the thing: there's a couple of people who did acting once upon a time. For musicians, their violin is their weapon. For actors, their body is their weapon. So maybe Stephen Toast, his powers of, vocal skill and acting ability is something that's going to be quite potent and effective.
Indeed.
In a fight.
Because every Matt Berry character, I dare say, has his iconic voice, but Toast gets to use it more than any other. So yeah, I think if we're going to give anyone the voice weapon, it's definitely Mr. Stephen Toast.
Awesome.
If only he was going up against someone who is vulnerable to sound. Damn. Last week would have been a great week for Stephen Toast.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
So, yeah, well, if he makes it to the Champion of Champions, there we go. So, character 2. Gladiator 2 on our list.
Yes.
He plays the Toast of London theme at the end of the last series on the piano. It is, of course, Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes, he does do that, doesn't he? Which is like a really cool nod.
Yeah, little crossover.
Yeah, I remember that. So this is the vampire.
Laszlo's going to be a strong competitor.
Yeah, the vampire from What We Do in the Shadows. So
yes. Spoilers for What We Do in the Shadows if you haven't seen it. There's not much, I think.
I was going to say,
well, there's a few things you can spoil.
I mean, I think in the first 10 seconds they're like, this is a vampire. So I don't think we've given away any major plot details. So what...
no.
Thinking about that show specifically, what are the vampire's abilities? Pretty standard for your vampire. Blood-sucking.
Yeah, they've got...
Super speed, I think they have. They can fly, but he can only fly when he says the word bat. So he has to say bat.
He can fly in regular form.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching an episode... Yeah, so they've got a lot of the classic vampire stuff going on, like you say. Blood-sucking, super speed, hypnosis.
Super strength.
Super strength. They can fly. You can bat and turn into a bat.
Yeah. Sunlight.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, no, I think a stipulation that I think we mentioned last week, which actually becomes relevant here, no environmental factors come into play like sunlight, because that's going to be an interesting one. So there'll be like a giant dome over the arena, or it'll take place at night.
I think stakes, I think classic things that kill vampires also work on them. So stakes, garlic, stuff like that.
The sign of the cross.
Yeah.
Sign of the cross they don't like either, so any religious characters, although it is Matt Berry, so not looking likely.
I think they also vomit profusely if they eat anything sort of a human would eat, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to like toss drinks over their shoulder if they're trying to blend in.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hypnosis can be deployed in two ways, because if you over-hypnotise someone, you give them the brain scramblies and basically fuck them up. So that could come into play. But yeah, what do you think of What We Do in the Shadows, Max? I think it's a very popular show. I personally quite like it. But...
So, yeah, well, not to kind of brag, I was a huge fan of the original. So I saw the original one, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. And the original one's really fun. It's with Taika Waititi, and that, I think, is sort of what kind of made him famous. So I was a huge fan of the original one, and there's, I think, from memory, a lot of the first series is sort of a remake of the film. But I remember when it was sort of announced that it was at the BBC, that it was coming to the BBC, which was really weird because, of course, it's like an Australian indie film or New Zealand indie film. I'm not particularly sure. Sorry. So that was sort of a weird thing. And then also it had Matt Berry, who I loved from IT Crowd and stuff. So
yeah,
it was a dream, really. And I think everyone's good in it as well, not just Matt Berry. Matt Berry's just, a sandstorm of comedy greatness. But in fairness to every other person in the show, I wouldn't say they kept up with him, because I think that's a bit unfair to say that all of them are sort of behind him. But they're all on a level of energy and wackiness that really works and is really effective. So I'm a big fan.
I'd say
big fan. And there's some versions they do as well. I think it's a clever show. I think it's a fun show. I think it's a stupid show, and I think it's pretty darn good.
Excellente. I think it's fair to say that the whole cast, it's a good ensemble, I think, definitely, because they all pull their weight.
It's quite
Nadia
weird
and Nandor just as lovable.
All of them in the show, they have, I guess, sort of European, like, old-fashioned, I guess they're trying to do, like, their take on a Transylvanian accent. So it's quite weird to sort of hear them in interviews in real life, and they're doing the sort of normal, I think most of the times quite posh RP accent. That's quite fun.
Yeah. Well, Nadja shows up in Toast of Tinseltown, and she does basically the same accent. So I've not seen her in an interview, so I don't know if that's just a regular voice or if it's a choice.
Because she was on like 8 out of 10 Cats or something, or the Countdown comedy show a couple of years ago, and I think she's got like an English accent in it. Unless she's just doing it for that show. She's just incredibly method.
I'm playing the role of regular British actress.
British contestant on Countdown.
But yeah, it's a great show. I think season 1 more or less adapts the film pretty well. And then, season 2 and 3 obviously go in different directions. I think it's great. It's funny. There's some actual plot twists in there, which we won't spoil because they're not really relevant.
No.
But yeah, when Matt Berry is just one of a fantastic ensemble, you know you've got a good show on your hands.
Yeah.
Any favourite episodes?
I did watch the newest season recently. Oh, Jackie Daytona. Jackie Daytona. Now,
well, it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. I say that, isn't it?
It's funny you should mention that. We'll be returning to Jackie Daytona later on, my friend.
I had a suspicion we might be.
Because Matt Berry seemingly plays 2 unrelated characters in What We Do in the Shadows. It's quite weird. 2 totally unconnected characters.
Not just the main character in disguise. No.
Oh, have you taken leave of your senses, Max? They're clearly 2 different people.
I think I'm being too. But, I'm deeping into the subtext a bit too much.
Definitely. Insanity. But we'll come back to that a little later on. For next up on our list, you mentioned him earlier. He enters dramatically. The doors are thrown open with a cry of "Father!" It's Douglas Reynholm from the IT crowd.
Speak, priest. One of my favourite lines. It goes underrated. You know, when a line like that goes underrated, you know, good. So yeah, IT
It's
crowd.
just fantastic.
Very fun.
Now, we'll address right now, fuck Graham Linehan, transphobe. It's unfortunate that
just
he
don't
has
bring
his
it up.
fingerprints all over it. Well, I think if we didn't, people might mention it one day. They tend to when you talk about the IT crowd these days. So yeah, fuck Graham Linehan, trans men are men, trans women are women, trans people are valid, transphobes can fuck off. Anyway, Douglas Reynholm. Yeah. Now, he's quite the brawler, as we know from that one infamous episode.
Yes, one of my favourite. I mean, one of my favourite jokes in it is like he gets like punched in the face or something and gets like immediately dropped, but in like half a frame later he just kind of springs back up.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of watch it to sort of get the sort of kind of comedy, the slapstick of it, I guess.
I think Matt Berry's physical comedy is underrated.
Oh,
yeah, I was just going to say, Matt Berry's physical comedy is underrated, I think, because everyone focuses on his voice, but he's great physically.
He's a fucking comedy wizard, man.
Oh, yeah. He knows what he's doing. But yeah, he's quite the brawler. He has a gun somewhere, if he remembers he has it.
Yes, he has. Oh, wow, a gun! But he does nearly shoot himself several times with it, so I feel that could be a disadvantage as much of an advantage. I think we'll give him the gun.
Yeah, we'll give him the gun. Magic Rehypnol. Jesus Christ, that's something else he has.
Yes, I think that's going to be a little bit more difficult to administer. He's rich. He's very rich. He's very confident. He's very cocky. He wears cowboy boots, I believe, at one point. So there's a lot there, really. There's a lot that he's packing that I think, as much as they may seem as a really strong advantage, they're going to be quite a strong disadvantage as well, knowing his skills and ability.
Indeed. Is he wearing the shock pants too? Because that would put him at a further disadvantage. I'm not sure why he would be, but
I'll say no, because then someone's got to have the phone and the sort of his mobile number, and I feel that none of them really would in the context that we put them in. Or maybe he has them on, but they just don't do anything.
Nah. I think just don't include them. But it's a point to address. You know, it's a key pivotal weakness.
I think he can have a gun
Mr. Reynholm.
for the sheer fact that there's as good a chance he kills himself with it than anybody else.
And I think there's a 50-50 chance he just forgets he has it as well in his pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Mid-brawl, he just pulls it out as oh look, a gun!
Yeah, or it just maybe falls out in the landscape somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't use it.
Maybe he just gets dropped and someone else picks it up.
Exactly.
You know, it's as much a liability as it is a plus for him. But yeah, IT crowd, it's good bit of fun. Well, yeah.
No, it's a really fun show, I think. Again, it's another example of everyone's, you know, at the highest level of, you know, wit and humour and fun. And all of them do exceptionally well in the role that they're given. Richard Ayoade's really fun. That sounded like I was just real fuck or something like that. No, he's just really fun. Chris O'Dowd's really good. Is it? Oh, I can't remember what the main woman's called because I always get her mixed up with the person who played Mary Watson in Sherlock Holmes. I always get them mixed up.
Amanda Abington.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the cast.
Is it Catherine Parkinson? I think that's it, but that might.
It is indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not the Sherlock Holmes. Who's the Sherlock Holmes woman? Just to go.
That's Amanda Abington. You're thinking of.
Ah.
Amanda Abington. Yeah.
No, Kelly Riley.
What? Mrs. Watson in Sherlock?
No. you dingbat Mary in the film with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh!
How am I getting them two
Oh,
mixed
I
up?
thought you
One's fucking 70 and one's like 30.
I didn't know. I thought you were talking about the TV show. Oh, yeah. I don't know who it is in the film. I've only seen the films like once, I think.
Really? I thought that'd be your sort of cup of tea. It sort of feels a little... It's sort of like good Marvel film adaptation.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're all right. I'm just not as sold. Well, I'm not. It's not even that I'm not as sold. I just haven't watched them, I guess.
I remember, and we'll end this tangent very quickly, but I remember, I think they came out when I was about 12 or 13, and I got so into them that I went on a school trip to see the second one and loved it, even though maybe watching it back it's not as amazing as I thought as a 12, 13-year-old, but it was still fun regardless. So I came back home and sort of wanted to be Sherlock Holmes, and in that film Sherlock just sort of sits in his room and just does weird shit, and obviously at the time I couldn't like take drugs or kill people as sort of he does in the film, so I used my bedside lamp to cook an oven chip. So for about a week I just like had a chip under a lamp as some kind of weird experiment to see if I could cook a chip with a lamp. And
I wonder what the crime scene relevance would be of this investigation.
I don't know. I mean, I was more a kid just kind of wanting to be weird and wacky like Robert Downey Jr. The interesting thing, the chip, though not cooked, was warm enough to be edible and mildly tasty. So, there you go. That's my input
Dear
to
God.
the conversation. Matt Berry in the IT crowd, though, very fun. It's quite interesting because he replaces his in-show father, and I think that character that comes before him is really fun and really good, and he's great. But I feel it's too much of an insult to say he's not as good as Matt Berry, but Matt Berry does bring something that's so kind of energetic and fresh and really kind of revamps it.
I was going to say, on a personal level at least, I do think the show gets better for me when Matt Berry comes into it. It's good before, but Matt Berry just has an extra X factor, an extra quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
but
it's also the fact that he was slightly younger. I think they could sort of do more with him. They could sort of have Roy kind of interact with him a bit more. You could sort of have Moss, with him a little bit. You sort of kind of improve the chemistry a little bit because they're sort of all the same age. So there's some kind of level of sort of, well, you can imagine these people being in a room together even if they don't like each other, sort of thing.
Yeah. But a co-star of the IT crowd, as you mentioned, was Mr. Richard Ayoade. Now, they worked together on an earlier project.
Yes, they did.
An underrated gem.
Yes.
One which many listeners may not have even heard of, because it's sadly undiscovered. It is, of course, Garth Marenghi's Darkplace.
Yeah, Darkplace.
So now, in this show, Matt Berry plays actor Todd Rivers, playing Dr. Lucien Sanchez. So, for our Fightography, I think it's... I think Todd Rivers is, of course, who he has to enter as, but I think he can call upon the skills and powers of Dr. Lucien Sanchez.
Yes.
So,
I think... Because what was Todd Rivers like in the kind of interview section of the show? Because he seemed a little bit more down to earth than all the sort of Toast characters. I can imagine him being a little bit more serious. However,
yeah, he's more like a like a slightly wanky, but nowhere near as wanky actor as Garth Marenghi. But yeah, he's very much he sees the show for what it is in a lot of ways. He sees the fictional Darkplace for what it is. So yeah, he's definitely got a slightly more serious vibe to him.
I would say that in many instances you'd have this thing where we'd like create this narrative that Todd Rivers is maybe like such a method actor, he stays in as Lucien Sanchez and that, but I don't think that's quite apt. I think it's more believable that Todd Rivers as a more kind of chill character uses Lucien Sanchez as maybe some way to manipulate and get the better hand of some of the other characters. So I think because he's less idiotic, he can maybe be a little bit more tactical and a little bit more switched on to the situation.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I also think that given the chaotic, seemingly behind the scenes of Darkplace and the strange production values, I think it's entirely possible he may just think Garth Marenghi has gone off on one and this is all part of the show. So maybe he stays in character for that as well.
Yeah, I think, and he's used to chaos, he's used to kind of weird shit happening. So
exactly,
again, he's sort of a little bit experienced in this sort of realm, I suppose. So what's Garth Marenghi's Darkplace actually about?
Yeah, spoilers for Darkplace. We'll put that out for everything we mentioned before we mention it. Darkplace is an underrated gem from, I think it's like 2004. It's like the mid to early 2000s from Channel 4. It is a fantastic satire of sort of at the same time old medical dramas plus like B-movie, campy, sci-fi horror stuff. Plus also just generally like wanky showbiz people. It manages to satire all three pretty effectively at the same time. And it's fantastic. It's hilarious. It's pretty on the point with its criticism. Even today, some of the stuff it criticises, you can still point to and go, yeah, there it is.
I think it's
like there's a gag about there's a gag about slow motion in one episode where Rich Daiwani's character is like, yes, up to 75% of the episodes are running under runtime, so everything without dialogue was considered for slow motion.
So the whole episode stuff's in slow motion for no reason. Yeah, it's quite meta. I would say we're sort of a precursor to The Play That Goes Wrong. Sort of, The Play That Goes Wrong obviously is a play about a play that goes wrong, and a lot of the jokes revolve around the fact that there are these actors who are trying to put on a professional show, but every few seconds something is constantly going wrong, and the comedy is the idea that this play just cannot work. And although I am fully confident that The Play That Goes Wrong sort of came from its own idea, its own sort, I think this is sort of the play that goes wrong for sort of TV done 10 years before that phenomenon sort of took off.
The sort of fictional concept of it basically is that there is this super wanky actor, director, producer, writer, like auteur bloke called Garth Marenghi, and he put together this sci-fi medical drama in like the 80s supposedly that was too controversial for TV. And then in reality it's because it was shit. And then 10 years later Channel 4 have approached him to go, Mr. Marenghi, could you repackage this with talking head interviews? So you get throughout the show interruptions of the behind the scenes real life, I'm doing air quotes but you can't see, people and just talking about the making of the show. And it's fantastic. Like the fictional Darkplace is this hospital that's on like the gates of hell, and they have all sorts of weird stuff happen there, and it's just brilliant.
I sort of feel with kind of early 2000s sort of Channel 4 programs, I feel that it's a show that was sort of too early for it to be really successful. I feel if it came out even 10 years later than it did, 15, it would have been so huge, so big. I think
absolutely.
The idea of being meta, although was seeded in sort of the early 2000s, meta comedies weren't really that huge until, you know, the 2010s sort of started. You know, we got Kick-Ass, Deadpool, Play That Goes Wrong.
Yeah.
I know they're both, you know, they're on other ends of the spectrum, but meta is a sort of device. Fleabag as well sort of became extremely popular about 10 years after it aired, which is quite interesting to think about. It's the luck of a TV show and when it comes out, and sometimes a program or piece of work comes out earlier than it needed to be. However, saying that, with streaming and Channel 4 all back, I'd highly recommend giving it a watch because it is very fun.
Yeah, it's all available now. There's only 6 episodes, half an hour each, so yeah, easy to get through in a day even, if you got time. And it's definitely worth a watch. It's great. You got, you know, there's jokes about like editing and production values, and I think if you're into showbiz in particular as well, I think you'll get an extra layer on top of everyone else of like enjoyment, because you sort of know what goes on behind the scenes anyway, so you'll be able to spot some more of the more obscure gags.
Going into this, Todd Rivers,
Todd Rivers calling upon the powers.
I think he's more down to earth, which in a weird sense is going to make him a little bit quicker and a bit smarter. I think there's, you know, his acting element, which is going to make him more, you know, he can convince other characters of, you know, whatever he needs them to believe. Is he sort of wearing the costume for Lucien Sanchez?
I think he is. I think he has to have been taken mid-episode from Darkplace. So he's in full medical gear.
So he's got the lab coat and stuff. I think he can have like a prop gun and stuff, because he has a gun in most of the episodes, I believe. But it's a prop.
He's got at least 2 guns. There's that great gag in the second episode where his gun is like possessed. So he takes out a second gun from his shoe and shoots the first one with it. So he has at least 2 guns.
So
he's regularly seen having seemingly just done a bout of fencing with Liz. So he's probably good at fencing. I don't know. We don't actually see on screen.
Okay.
He's got some classic Matt Berry fighting skills.
So I think a lot of it's going to be the charade, the sort of playing the big player and hoping people don't call his bluff, essentially.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. Who do we have next, Daniel?
Next up on our list is a more recent and smaller detour. It is that one droid from Book of Boba Fett.
Yes. I've seen 2 episodes of Boba Fett. Wasn't really that impressed by it.
Yeah. I like that they try to give Boba more layers as a character, but the show just feels a bit cheap to me. I don't know. It clearly isn't, because it's got Disney money, but it feels like it's taking place on 3 sets.
It doesn't feel as good as Mandalorian.
Definitely not.
Because I really enjoyed Mandalorian,
Definitely
and I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. You know that, and hopefully the audience will learn that. Either the easy way or the hard way. But I guess my beef, so to speak, with sort of Boba Fett as a character is I feel that everyone viewed him as such a sort of badass, you know, no nonsense killer of a character. And my beef is sort of in the original trilogy, he's a complete chump. I don't think he really gets any moment where he's sort of shown to be skilled or menacing or as dangerous as other people sort of make out. So
he totally is.
I was a little bit reluctant to sort of join the kind of he's a badass kind of brigade, because the films just hadn't demonstrated that yet. And I know there's probably a lot of novels and a lot of comics which probably have done. But with Star Wars, as far as I haven't read any of them, I'm a little bit dubious to the idea that to sort of you have to kind of, the idea that you've got to read books and you've got to, I love reading books, but the idea that you've sort of got to read a book and read a comment in order for a film to sort of make sense or have a different meaning, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to read, that's for nerds. Well, I feel it's a bit unfair to sort of tell your audience, okay, you've got to read a 300-page book. Okay, now watch the film. Because I think what films do that... no offence to the first Suicide Squad, but it feels like something that film would do. You know, it wouldn't do well. It wouldn't have much depth about any of its characters, really. So they sort of release a novella and they sort of go, oh, well, if you want the sort of character beats, if you want the really, you know, the hard story, you know, read that and then watch the film. And it's like, no, a film should stand alone. 9 times out of 10 anyway. The only instance where it shouldn't really is a sequel and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. That's definitely, you know, actually a good point. I was only joking around, but yeah, it's yeah. I think if a show, you know, has to rely entirely on expanded media, then
that's
it's not great.
You sort of sold my argument in 2 words there, but that's the thing. If you go off the films and the films alone, Boba Fett is sort of he's a chump, and I was sort of like, okay, he's a chump, but then everyone sort of went on about how badass he is, and in The Mandalorian he makes a return, spoilers, and he, you know, he's quite badass in that, and after that I was like, oh, okay, fine, they're going to resell him as a badass. So I joined the sort of he's a badass hype train, watched the first 2 episodes of Boba Fett, and he's a chump again. It gets to the point where I'm like, make your mind up, dude. Is he a chump or is he a badass?
I feel like they swung too far the other way, because like, it's good that he's not just emotionless murderer. Like, it's good that he's got a bit more to him going on than that. But they've gone way too far the other way, where now he just gets his ass kicked by literally everyone. I don't think he's won a single fight in the show entirely on his own.
Well, my thing is as well, he's a lot like the Mandalorian character. You know, there's differences.
Yeah.
The biggest difference probably being the colour of their armour, and that's about it. But they're both sort of a little bit grey. You know, they've got a little bit of... They're a little bit quippy. They've got a little bit of charisma. They're competent fighters. They use the same sort of weaponry. But I was thinking, watching a Boba Fett, you know, if you put the Mandalorian character in Boba Fett's shoes, they make the same choices as well. And...
yeah, totally.
Although you're fully right in the fact that how far can you go when you have a badass, when you just have like a very kind of cold-faced badass killer, but at the same point, by sort of making him more lighthearted, they've just made him a character that they already had and is better. And sort of like you said, there's an early fight scene where it's him, his assistant, whose name I forget, and 2 of the green troll things, versus like an army of rebel. You can tell I'm not the biggest fan ever. And an army of sort of rebels. And the troll people, who are also chumps in the original films, and the assistant, who I think is quite new, are both proficiently taking out the rebel or the bad guys or whatever. And Boba Fett's the only one who's having the shit kicked out of him. And it just doesn't really ring true to what they're trying to present with him. If you're going, oh, this is Boba Fett from the original trilogy, you'd sort of go, well, yeah. Still, I'm not sure that character from the original trilogy would make a good, you know, lead as a character for their own franchise.
He gets taken out by a blind dude. Yeah,
I find it difficult to keep.
Yeah, his sidekick is a Fennec Shand.
Shand.
Yeah, I think what's even more hilarious in that fight you're talking about, there's a bit where they're surrounded and they're like, oh god, what do we do? We're trapped on all sides. Boba is wearing his jetpack at the time.
I thought this at the time.
Dude,
they're doing
you have a jetpack.
Mild spoilers. They're doing the sort of Game of Thrones thing where they sort of... And I think... I mean, I could be completely wrong. I think it was like a genuine sort of like war tactic to sort of have that kind of surround the people you're fighting and then sort of like slowly close in on them, sort of like a snake kind of squeezing the life out of them, which they didn't do. They just surrounded them and then took like 1 step forward every 3 minutes. So it was ineffectual. But even without a jetpack, he could have, and they nearly did, but didn't, he could have just given a foot up or a leg up over the top of them and break the sort of chain, really. Because it's one of those things, and it's demonstrated really well in Game of Thrones, when they're doing the kind of bow constrictor sort of tactic, the way to get over it is to break the circle, get behind the circle. And they had ample opportunities to do that. So yeah, I know I've only seen 2 episodes, but I've not been the greatest fan of it anyway. Matt Berry. Because that was a hell of a tangent.
Matt Berry, yeah. Who are we talking about again?
Yeah.
Matt Berry, he's got a little role. It's not that little a role. He's, I think, in every episode.
It's not bad.
Like at least one scene. Apparently, the droid he's playing is the same droid who's torturing that Gonk droid in Return of the Jedi, where he like lowers the like brand thing onto his feet. I think apparently it's the same droid.
I don't remember that bit.
Basically, if you've not seen the show, dear listener, the droid is a crappy little thing that's probably going to blow over in a stiff breeze. So he's not going to last long, I sense.
Is there an indication that they have some form of weaponry? Because it's a futuristic landscape he exists in.
You'd think so, but as a servant of formerly Jabba the Hutt, I guess he's probably stripped of weapons just in case. So
you've just sort of got a fairly useless droid, really.
Pretty much.
Interesting.
I like how in the show Matt Berry is trying to be restrained, but every now and then he can't help himself. Like Bib Fortuna, just it slips out on there.
It's one of those things where if you hire Matt Berry to do anything, you've got to sort of, you can't put him on a leash because that's not the point. You know, it's like if you put Jim Carrey on a leash, and does it work as well? Some would argue yes, because Eternal Sunshine, but you know what I mean. There are some performers that are too good at just being so unpredictable. So to of contain them in a fairly characterless role, I would say it was a little bit of a waste. But who knows?
It absolutely is.
A lot of episodes left, and the character may do more.
Yeah, I think if we were to give him a weapon, I think if we take it as truth that he is the same torture droid, I think we could just give him a little red hot poker. Why not? Have a little red hot poker as his main weapon.
We'll give him a poker, but it's basically non-lethal. It's just a bit annoying. I think that's as far that's the best we can do to give this dude a fighting chance.
Yeah. Speaking of annoying, speaking of a waste of Matt Berry's talents, we have Sponge on the Run, the latest, I believe, SpongeBob movie, in which Matt Berry plays King Poseidon.
Everyone bloody plays King Poseidon. I swear I was Googling someone. Oh, I know who I was Googling. Because, okay. And
that's a future episode right there.
I was Googling Poseidon, and I swear loads of people played him. But anyway, sorry, I digress. King Poseidon, big fuck off fish.
Yeah.
How does this work in an on-land battle royale?
Here's the thing: do we grant him some sort of like suit where he has like water to breathe on land, or does he just instantly dry out and die?
I'd say we've got to give him a chance. So we've got to give him some kind of suit because it wouldn't be fun anyway. Okay, he spawns and then just immediately dies. It's sort of like the same with the vampire thing. So we've just got to accept.
Yeah.
What we have to consider, because in the show or in the original movie, he's like huge comparatively, but that's in comparison to a sponge, which is the size of my big toe, or half my foot.
Although, is he? Well, because Sandy's a squirrel, and SpongeBob was more or less the same height as Sandy, so.
So what we're saying is the dimensions in SpongeBob are somewhat inaccurate.
Just slightly. So I think King Poseidon is still quite small.
What kind of fish is he? Is he a mermaid?
Yeah, he's like some sort of mer creature.
So should we make him sort of average human? I think small human, so like sort of 5'5" for a male.
All right.
Or make him like 6 foot mermaid and make him horrifying. Should we make him the creature from the Black Lagoon, essentially?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Does having
thing.
So yeah,
I was going to say, before we get too ahead of ourselves, this is not the King Poseidon you remember from the good SpongeBob movie, the original.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Well,
it seems to be some sort of... Indeed. It seems to be some sort of soft reboot, this new one. Because SpongeBob has never met this King Poseidon before. They explicitly say, King Poseidon, I wonder what he's like. Oh, let's look him up. Oh, he sounds
it's fucking
bad.
King Neptune. Shit.
Oh, is it a different one in the original?
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't think we're to blame here for mixing them up, because the film, he looks like as if he's meant to be exactly the same. He's got the same weapon. He has the same basic design with a few changes. So he looks more or less exactly like King Neptune.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically in this film, King Poseidon is made out to be more or less like King Neptune, big, imposing. But spoilers for Sponge on the Run, a film I'm sure you all want to see. He's 3,000 years old, and you can tell by the end of the film because he like takes off all of this stuff which has been like making him look great. Like he's got like back clips and stuff to make him look hench, and false teeth and a hairpiece on. So in reality, he's actually a very frail, obese, just wreck of a fish.
Lagoon. I think we've got to go creature
pretty
of the
much,
Black Lagoon, sort of creature, sort of with fangs, making no kind of sane human noises, is about 6 foot.
No.
With a trident coming out. That's terrifying. That's fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
But I'm down for it.
Some hideous Cthulhu-esque beast emerging from the lake. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, Sponge on the Run is not a good film. I only watched it for this podcast, and boy oh boy, I would never see it again.
The film I have to watch next week is worse.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I'm guessing.
The sad thing is, right, it takes what was once a great property and just shits all over it. Like, there's a couple good SpongeBob gags in there where I'm like, that's a classic SpongeBob gag right there. But overall, it's more or less like a Mad Libs version of the original film.
It's like that with a lot of films.
The basic plot is kind of similar. There's a road trip with him and Patrick. Yeah. They have to go and see this great king. It's all part of Plankton's plan. It's like a weird Mad Libs version. They even have the Pattymobile, but they don't treat it correctly at all. I'm not like saying it should be revered. Quite the opposite.
You don't
need a license to. They don't make any gags. Exactly. They don't make any gags like that at all. There's no iconic lines. They just go, to the Pattymobile. What? That's a sandwich. Just you wait. And then that's more or less all they say about it. And then they just drive it around. I'm like,
disappointing.
What? Because like they like extend the Pattymobile. It like extend itself outwards into more of a limo to make room for them all. And they could put like some sort of shit subway pun, like, now it's a footlong or some shit like that. I don't know, just something. They don't address it at all, and it's such a god.
I take your word for it. So, giant mermaid creature, noted.
So yeah, hideous merbeast with trident. I'm assuming the trident also freezes people, but you never actually see it get used. But like the effect is the same, which sort of glows blue when he points it at people. So I'm assuming it's the same power.
Okay.
Next up,
yes,
a show which I might have a controversial take on: The Mighty Boosh.
The Mighty Boosh.
Dixon Bainbridge. The Mighty Boosh.
I've seen a bit of The Mighty Boosh. Sort of the same opinions with Toast, really. I could never really get into it because I guess I have a limit of crazy. But I'm not sure I've seen the one with Matt Berry. Is he a regular in it?
So here's the thing. I've seen one episode of The Mighty Boosh, and I agree with you. I wasn't a big fan of it. But for this podcast, I tried to look up to watch it. And it's been taken down from Netflix, Amazon. Yeah. It's really hard to find. So I've had to look it up on certain websites, and I found enough of Matt Berry to get a gist of his character. He is the zoo owner. I believe he's probably in like a couple episodes in season 1, but it seems like he's mostly in just one.
What was his name again?
He's Dixon Bainbridge.
Of course.
Pretty much. He's basically a classic Matt Berry character. He's an explorer, so he's probably got some good skills at dealing with animals. Mm-hmm. He has all these grand stories to tell about how he does have a gun. He mentions explicitly having a gun in his moustache.
Oh, okay. So what kind of gun is it?
He's got a weapon. It's just like a handgun, like a revolver kind of thing. So it's not like a bazooka or anything.
Revolver in his moustache, okay.
Yeah. There's... I imagine the episode he has the most screen time in from what I was able to watch of it. He's basically this mad scientist. He kind of does the whole Jurassic World thing, but on the cheap, where he's like, people don't want to see a rhino or a wolf, but a rhino with a wolf's head, that's a piece of poetry right there. And he's just grafting animals together. So maybe he does have command over these horrible animal beasts, so maybe he can summon them as his special move. For our grand battle.
I'm dubious.
Summon a horde of...
I'm dubious. I'll give him the gun.
Maybe he could summon one. He could summon the rhino wolf that he so loves. But that's about it.
Is there like a baby rhino wolf that he can just sort of like have on his shoulder?
Not from what I saw, but he can have one. He mentions it, so he can have one.
I just think because... who's the other character? I don't know, because then does the droid get Boba Fett? Does Douglas Reynholm get all the security men he hires?
Yeah. Well, there is a tag team I want to mention to you when we get into the battle itself, but we'll have to see.
So Dixon Bainbridge, zookeeper with gun in moustache. Noted.
Yeah, explorer, so he's sort of used to like weird stuff, so he's probably pretty good at the like navigating a new terrain. So, you know, I don't think he'll last the whole way, but he might last a little while.
Let's see.
But yeah, Mighty Boosh, I sort of agree with your take. I can never get into it, which is weird because normally crazy stuff's right up my alley. But
it's no comment on the quality. I'm sure it's very good and stuff. It's just not for me.
It's clearly quite a popular show.
I remember there is one joke that's really funny where the guy, I'm not sure if he's slightly racist or a racist character or anything, so it may... Anyway, but there's a character who's like god of the underworld and his hat's on fire because he's king of the underworld. And then, like, he does like a whole like 5-minute like narration or something, and then just halfway through one of the characters just goes... Oh no, he realises his hat's on fire and like starts like screaming in fear. And then he's like, why did no one tell me my hat's on fire? And we're like, oh, you're king of the underworld. He's like, my hat wasn't supposed to be on fire. So that was quite funny.
That's a good gag. Yeah,
anyway.
I'm sure there's quite a few gags.
Yeah, exactly, I'm sure. Who do we have next?
Next up, we have Detective Inspector Rabbit from Year of the Rabbit.
Right.
Is this a show you've seen, Max?
I've never fucking heard of it. Oh, wait, no. Oh, no, I have. You showed it to me once, didn't you? Or did I watch it?
Yeah, I think you watched the first episode. I'm pretty sure you watched like at least a bit of the first episode.
Rabbit Detective, man.
Yeah, I rewatched a couple episodes in preparation for this, and I like it a lot more on a second viewing.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a second go.
It's not its best role by any chance, but like it's kind of like a less good version of Toast of London to some extent, but I think it's perhaps more up your street in the sense that it's slightly less crazy in a way. Well, they sort of play it slightly more straight.
Yeah, I had the impression it was sort of one of those Matt Berry roles where he sort of plays it completely straight and there's not much comedy in it at all. Which
there's definitely... It's definitely not totally straight. Like, there's definitely... It's basically Matt Berry doing your classic hard-boiled, grizzled detective. So there is some humour in there, but it's nowhere near as wacky as, like, Toast of London or IT Crowd or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not bad. There's a few decent gags. It's good TV to have on in the background, you know. If you're doing your ironing or you're cooking your tea, It's good TV just to stick on in the background and half watch, I think. That's my review.
So what sort of powers does he have as someone who's watched more episodes?
Detective Inspector Rabbit, he is your classic grizzled detective. So he's a bit of a brawler, which is to his advantage. He has a truncheon at all times, so that's a weapon he can use.
Okay.
However, he's almost always heavily drunk, which is going to play against him.
Oh, okay.
And if he runs for too long a period, his heart stops. So that's not going to end well for him.
So he can't run, basically.
Basically, yeah. He has to sort of speed walk or run for very short periods, or else he's going to die.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
I dare say that might even come into play if he has an extended fight too, because he can brawl for a little while, but if it's going on for a period of time, then maybe his heart problems come back. You know, it's definitely a major thing working against him, because he's not got anyone here to restart it for him like he does in the show. Unless he can trick someone, because he just has someone punch him in the chest and then he's fine. So if he can trick someone into doing that, he'll be alright.
Quite possibly.
He's supposedly a detective inspector, so that you'd think would play to his advantage, but he's not exactly a Sherlock, so, you know, I'm not sure how much you want to give that to him.
No. Well, I guess we can consider it if need be, but... Yeah, no, he can have, like, detective kind of intelligence. He can be fairly switched on if need be.
Yeah. Some degree of intelligence to him, yeah. So, the penultimate slot on our list.
Yes.
You mentioned it earlier already. It is, of course, musician Matt Berry.
Musician
/ album Matt Berry.
Fantastic.
Indeed. Now, he's done a few albums. He's got 10 Years on Acid Jazz, Gather Up. That should be the other way around. Gather Up, brackets, 10 Years on Acid Jazz. The Small Hours, TV themes. He's done like an album specifically of his cover of TV themes.
Lovely.
Which includes the Doctor Who theme.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, he's done a cover of that. And it's weird. It's like a quite sort of chill... Yeah, it's like a chill take on it. The UBUs are more dominant and the Dum-de-Dums are played down slightly.
Oh, interesting.
So have you heard much of Matt Berry's albums, Max? Have you heard much of his music?
I've heard one or two. I may have even heard the Doctor Who one, though I don't remember it very well. Of course, I've heard the Toast of London theme, which is amazing, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, his music style's a bit... I don't know, how would you describe his music style?
Well, he describes himself as sort of like a soft rock kind of thing, which I think is fairly accurate, yeah, from what I've heard. There's like a chill rock vibe to it.
Yeah, there is a bit.
Yeah, and I think if you just sort of look at Matt Berry, I think weirdly, I don't know if it's a weird thing to say, but that suits him, you know? Like, you just look at Matt Berry and go, yeah, that's a soft rock kind of guy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it fits his sort of style, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what...
In terms of his powers,
powers are we going into?
I think musician Matt Berry, I think given how there are multiple musical numbers in Toast, and there's one in Darkplace too.
Yes.
He is a one-track lover. I think musician Matt Berry gets to have a piece of the soul of these characters. So in times of great need, he mimic a fraction of their power. You know, like imitate the powers of Todd Rivers or the powers of Stephen Toast.
Maybe with the characters who are a bit musical, he can... Because Laszlo's a bit musical as well. He can sort of use his musical notes to sort of gain their trust, I suppose.
Okay.
Play a bit of a kind of musical
Can he even almost... Yeah, can he almost, like, take control of any characters with the music? Because in the musical numbers in Toast of London, there are... other characters who aren't necessarily musical themselves.
I wouldn't say you get some...
are compelled to dance or
I wouldn't say he gets some kind of possessive power, but he can definitely use music as a way to sort of... I don't know... get the characters on his good side.
Yeah. Maybe he can, like, control the events for 2 other gladiators at the most. So, like, you can't control the entire battlefield, but if 2 other people are having a face-off, maybe he can, like, control how that goes down temporarily.
I don't want to give him huge superpowers. I don't want to just give him powers that he doesn't have. But I'm more than willing to buy that some of these idiot characters will be tempted, maybe won over, be encouraged by his music.
All right. I think in terms of melee weapons and like actual weapons, I think he can throw the vinyls, Shaun of the Dead style.
Oh yeah, I'll give him a single vinyl.
You're already trying to kill off music, Matt Berry.
I'm not. I'm just trying to think realistically. He's not going to come with a whole freaking suitcase of vinyl records.
I think when you Google it, 3 records.
He may be holding a single record as he is teleported away.
Give him the 3. Give him the 3 top records that come up when you Google him. He can have his 3 top vinyls. He can have one of each.
Only if they possess the power of Shaun of the Dead, which is 2 of them just hit off the other guys with no damage, and maybe the first one hurts them a bit.
All right.
I'll give him 3 vinyls.
I think the third one has to act almost like Captain America's shield. It's just some godly, unbreakable material that could like decapitate people and deflect bullets.
I'm not going to give it a kill thing. I'm not saying it's killing. It can maybe incapacitate or wound majorly.
Oh, this is going to be tough on the battlefield.
It is for music, Mary. But he's going to use his lyrical voice to manipulate those.
Yeah, this is true. Siren-like.
Exactly, he's a siren. Like King Poseidon, the mermaid man.
Oh, God. Ugh. I'm determined to kill that fucker as quick as possible. I want him off the field. Our final gladiator, we alluded to earlier.
Yes.
A second entry from What We Do in the Shadows. For you see, there is an episode where Matt Berry plays a totally unrelated character. Some people say there's a connection, but they're mad. This character is, of course, Jackie Daytona, regular human bartender. He's just a regular human bartender. He just sells regular human alcohol.
So he's a bartender. Doesn't he also coach a women's netball team?
Oh, it's a women's volleyball team.
It's a women's volleyball team.
He's like... Yeah, he's not their coach, but like he's like their patron. He's like their biggest fan, and he throws like a charity event for them to help them raise some funds.
So what are the key differences between Jackie Daytona and Laszlo?
Well, Jackie Daytona can breathe fire using the alcohol he has behind the bar. He can do like a classic sort of fire eating trick where he downs a bottle and then uses a lighter to like breathe fire. No, he has a toothpick, which is a useful weapon. So
he's got toothpick, fire breathing. Sort of like in the episode, he doesn't want to sort of give away his identity. So is he going to try his best not to do vampire stuff when he's being seen?
I don't know what you're talking about, Max. He's just a regular human bartender. Why would he have vampire abilities? But he's going to limit these seeming vampire abilities he apparently has. He's going to limit those as much as possible.
Okay.
I think for his special move, given how he is such a pillar of the community, I think he could call upon the volleyball team in times of great distress for a one-off battle cry.
So we've got a volleyball team fighting a wolf man, fighting Boba Fett. I'm saying no assistance. No assistance.
I'm
being brutal.
The volleyball team?
Ruthless dictator.
As in, we're not allowed the volleyball team, or the volleyball team get no assistance?
I don't think we can allow a volleyball team.
But he's a pillar of the community, Max. He's a pillar.
But we've denied Zooman his wolf thing, his weird wolf hybrid.
I thought we were giving him like a one baby wolf rhino thing. I think we'll negotiate. He gets a baby wolf rhino if Jackie Daytona gets the women's volleyball team for a one-off special move.
So the women's volleyball team is just going to run on and kill Laszlo the vampire, and kill the most OP character, I suppose.
Well, I don't know if can they, because they don't have stakes or anything. They're only a women's volleyball team. They have the powers of a ball and their athletic prowess.
Okay, so we'll give Zookeeper a tiny little wolf man, and we'll give Jackie Daytona an entire junior women's volleyball team, who will be dying immediately. I grant you.
I don't think they're going to last long, but I think they might get him out of like one tricky spot.
Are they just? Do they spawn with him?
I think he somehow summons them, and then like the ground opens up, and they like pour out of the ground, sort of like, you know, in the Mummy, how like the army just sort of pours out of the desert. They do that. They just.
Do they have the ball? Like if we're gonna fucking allow,
they have the ball. Yeah.
Allow this criminality, then we've got to do it sufficiently. So they've got the volleyball.
Yeah, they have the ball. They don't have the net, but they do have the ball.
But Laszlo doesn't have any of his vampire friends. Douglas Reynholm doesn't have any of his security. Or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
Well...
Fine.
I think, however, there is one other tag team, which you may as well mention while we're here. You see... Todd Rivers as Lucien Sanchez has a iconic handshake with his buddy, Garth Marenghi. So I think, similar to what we discussed last week with the craze, I think Todd Rivers can, also as a one-off, tag in Garth Marenghi for a two-time... Oh, all right.
Tom Hardy played the same character, which allowed the hybrid. You're not allowed to just get in... Because then what does it become?
Where does it end? I don't know. That's for us to decide.
It just becomes some great army that we can't keep up with Matt Berry semi at the core of it.
I want the Lord of the Rings, but with Matt Berry.
I see. Anyway,
armies of berries and their friends charging towards each other.
A small wolf and a women's volleyball team on the condition that they die almost immediately.
I think that's fair. All right.
Do you have a wild card, perchance?
I do. You see,
interesting.
There is a particular episode of Darkplace starring Matt Berry,
right?
And I feel this episode, it has, dare I say, a star that steals the show from everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this episode is Skipper the Eye Child. Now, I don't know if you recall Skipper the Eye Child, Max, but it was it was this giant eye baby monstrosity that
oh yes, of course,
was birthed from a horny sex pest eye monster. So our wild card is Skipper the Eye Child.
A sort of
now I don't value his chances.
Tall octopus thing with one eye.
Essentially, yeah. But it's not like... It's because the eye child itself is basically the size of a regular human baby, but it's just a giant eye with a mouth.
It puts up a good fight against Todd Rivers, though, doesn't he?
It does. It does.
He kicks the shit out of him.
Now... I don't think it's going to last long because Skipper the Eye Child gets one bite in and then gets a horrible mangled death in the sink.
So just for anyone, just to make it really clear for anyone who hasn't seen Garth Marenghi's Darkplace, which is going to be the vast majority of people, Skipper the Eye Child is essentially a giant eye that Matt Berry forms a relationship with, only to have a fight to the death.
No, it's Garth Marenghi himself who has the relationship. Because, because it reminds him of his grasshopper son who died a tragic death because he was half grasshopper. But yeah, it's Garth himself who has the relationship with the Eye Baby. So, do we want to give the Eye Child Garth Marenghi?
No, we're not giving anyone else.
All right. So this poor defenseless Eye Child is dropped into the middle of this grand battle on his own.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, that's the wild card. Skipper the Eye Child. I don't think it's going to last long, but
to be fair,
we'll see what happens.
For about 7 of these people, we've all said that they're not going to last long. So
it's going to become a top 3 very quickly.
So before we move on to the actual battle, let's discuss sort of what backdrop they're going to inhabit this fight on. Where are we going to be? Where are we going to set this? Now, I have an idea, and it's dawned on me that Matt Berry and a lot of his characters are based around sort of film sets, very meta ideas. So I think, why don't we have this battle royale inside a giant warehouse? You know, if you think of, not that there's a famous image, but you know, sort of in like classic movies when they're kind of filming like something on the moon, and there's just this kind of giant warehouse where there's like sets, they've got lights, there's maybe like a backdrop of like sunrise or sunset or just the night sky, some sort of giant film sets where there's cameras, there's rigging everywhere, but it's just a giant warehouse.
Yeah, like your Hollywood backlot, basically, kind of thing. Where, it's... Now, do you want to lay out what sets in particular are in this warehouse? Because that's my only question. Are there any particular things that may become of use to our gladiators?
Well, I feel there'll be a lighting rig that probably none of them will be able to reach, but that'll be on the roof. Let's say all the walls are sort of like the kind of night sky, because it's a night shoot, they're filming on the night. Maybe the floor will be some sort of I don't know, it'll be sort of a little bit gravelly, it'll be a little, I don't know, I'm just sort of thinking those kind of like old classic kind of moon set, so I'm just thinking the moon set with lots of lights. There might be cameras lying around, there might be like wrenches. It's before a shoot, some of the rigging may be down, there may be a forklift in the corner, which we probably shouldn't have any of them use, but it's there, I suppose.
So it's essentially the moon as a set, an old style version of the moon.
Yeah, with no kind of gravitational deficiencies.
Yeah.
So I think
the lighting rig could come in useful for Laszlo. Being transformed into a bat, maybe he could get up there.
Remind us before we go into this battle. On a film set of a film being shot on the moon, who are our gladiators?
Our mighty Berry warriors are Stephen Toast, Laszlo the vampire, Douglas Reynholm, Todd Rivers as Dr. Lucian Sanchez, the droid from Book of Boba Fett, King Poseidon, Dixon Bainbridge from The Mighty Boosh, Detective Inspector Rabbit, album/musician Matt Berry, Jackie Daytona, and the wild card, Skipper the Eye Child.
The bell rings.
Ding ding. The flare is set off.
This is a tricky one.
The battle begins.
I was more confident with the Tom Hardy one, I guess, because I've only just found out what the list is. So who do we think's going to have immensely good reflexes to sort of initiate the first move?
I think, looking at the list, Laszlo doesn't like a fight, but he's probably the best in a fight. I think Todd Rivers is used to these strange situations more, so I think he immediately sort of assesses the battlefield and is like, I'm just going to roll with this. All right, what can I do? So I think he's got a good start.
He thinks he's just on set. He doesn't know which kind of, have I gone to the wrong set? Meanwhile...
Yeah, exactly.
So Dixon Bainbridge, the detective, isn't... When's that set again? Isn't it like 18th century or something? Or like Victorian?
Detective Inspector Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Victorian era. Yeah. It's like a classic Victorian era.
So maybe he could
he's going to be pretty perplexed.
So horrified by what's sort of in front of him. He's seen a giant eye and he's seen a giant fish monster. I think he's just going to whip out his truncheon.
Oh no! Oh, Skipper, run!
Part of me
run, Skipper!
Well, this is the thing. Part of me was like, does he just go for the giant mermaid, or does he go for the eye?
I think the zookeeper. I think he likes obscure, weird animals. So I think he also clocks these two creatures.
Yeah,
and wants one of them for his zoo. I think he goes for King Poseidon for his zoo because it's more impressive.
Okay.
Abandoning poor Skipper to his fate.
So Rabbit Detective goes after Skipper with a truncheon and bludgeons the eye to death. Meanwhile...
It's a horrific, gory mess. Skipper's gone.
Immediately. Meanwhile... Dixon Bainbridge is running towards this mermaid creature. Now, is he going to be a little bit more careful, or is he just going to be wild and just try and rugby tackle him?
Now, as an intrepid explorer, I think he goes for it. He whips out his gun from his moustache just in case, and he just goes for it.
Okay, so
I think he fires off like
King Poseidon to the floor.
Yeah, I think he shoots the trident out of King Poseidon's hand before he can react, because King Poseidon takes a while to use his trident, so I think that's gone, so he can't use that. And then he rugby tackles King Poseidon to the ground, and they're having a little wrestle. Now, as I mentioned, King Poseidon is quite frail in actuality, so I'm not sure how much of a fight he can put up. I think he's at Dixon's mercy.
So they're just wrestling. So with Skipper's been bludgeoned to death by Rabbit Detective.
Skipper!
King Poseidon's being wrestled by a zookeeper. I actually think what I've just realised is we've got Todd Rivers, actor, and Stephen Toast, actor, and maybe there's some kind of familiarity there.
I think maybe they worked together back in the day, you know? They're both actors. I'm sure they might have crossed paths on a project.
Potentially, yeah.
So I think
they just sense the actor vibe, or both of them are maybe mid take and they just go, "Whoa, you're an actor. You're an actor."
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some kind of camaraderie there. I think Douglas Reynholm as well. He's what the fuck, and he sees Skipper being beaten to death, and I think that's just going to incite him to just go, "Ah, okay," and pull out his gun. And
I think he might make a run for it. I don't know, because does he remember he has the gun? That's the question. It's a 50-50 flip.
Oh, well, that's a good point. I feel in a sense of danger, he'd maybe remember that he'd have a gun. My only thing is, so he's got revolver, and I think he's, because he does a gag where he fires it a few times and nothing happens. There's a few chambers which are empty, so he may start firing. He may put a gun to the head of Music Matt Berry, for example, pull it and nothing fires. So he tests it on potentially himself.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Until it inevitably fires.
Yeah. I think he does. I think he puts the gun to his own head and just like, he starts pulling the trigger, testing if it works, and what we must ask ourselves is, does he shoot himself immediately?
Maybe he severely wounds himself, perhaps. Maybe he... it's quite hard to
put a
bullet gun in your mouth and not kill yourself.
classic sitcom style, I think he puts it to one of his temples, pulls the trigger, and the bullet like takes out both his eyes, but doesn't kill him. So he's just essentially blinded.
So he's just incapacitated on the floor. King Poseidon's being wrestled. Skipper's been bludgeoned to death. Do you think Rabbit Detective has had a taste of blood now? They all know.
Now, he does talk in the show many times about when you kill, you get the taste.
And that's the thing, they all know. If they know one thing before they spawn, it's fight to the death. So,
yeah,
I think he's bludgeoned Skipper to death. I think Laszlo, as much as he's ruthless and as much as he knows there's a fight to a death, with a few other characters, I know that there's going to be this hesitation of what the fuck's going on a little bit. I think they're going to be less instinctive to react immediately. So
I think Laszlo, he bats it up and then immediately lands on the lighting rig. He just surveys the battlefield for a while.
So he flies up to the lighting rig. Yeah.
Because he does like to run from a fight if he can help it. Like, if he doesn't know he can win, he likes to run. So I think he surveys the battlefield for a little while first.
Okay.
However, a hero is amongst our ranks. You see, Jackie Daytona, he doesn't like anyone messing with his community. He worries what impact this might have on the women's volleyball team.
Do we think...
So he charges.
Do we think Rabbit Detective starts bludgeoning some of the female volleyball team? And God. Jackie Daytona sees this and puts an end to it.
I don't know, because he's not. He's he's one of the good coppers. Ultimately, he's
So
I think what does happen, having bludgeoned the eye child, he does set its sights on King Poseidon next. So he charges towards King Poseidon.
Interesting. So while the zookeeper is wrestling Poseidon, Rabbit Detective comes in and bludgeons King Poseidon to death. This helpless creature who looks horrifying, but he means no harm. He's very frail. He's been immediately rugby tackled and wrestled. Someone's come over with a bludgeon and just smashed his skull in.
I think he doesn't even get to where his skull smashing. I think he takes one swing, smashes the fishbowl that's helping him breathe, and then King Poseidon just hideously dries up and suffocates on land.
Murders. So King Poseidon's dead.
King Poseidon's dead, yeah.
And of course that's going to enrage Dixon Bainbridge.
Oh yeah, I think that's why he only gets one swing in. He breaks the fishbowl, so King Poseidon suffocates. But before he gets to swing again, Dixon Bainbridge grabs his arm and just wrestles him to the floor. And
he's not using his revolver; he's just using sheer wrestling.
Oh, well, when he gets annoyed, he does like to punch people. He has a classic 1-2 move. He knees them in the bollocks and then punches them in the face.
So surely Dixon makes the first move because he's sort of you've killed my fish. So he maybe goes, and he maybe wouldn't use his gun just yet because it's that sheer emotion. So he wants to wrestle him to the floor. So Bainbridge and Rabbit Detective are in a wrestling match. Many characters are just sort of watching this. Laszlo from the heights, Stephen Toast and Todd Rivers. Now that's an interesting one because they've coincided with each other. They relate to each other, but they know they've got to fight to the death. So what happens there?
I think the first thing Stephen Toast does, he goes, "Fuck this, I'm out." So he goes to try and leave, but Todd Rivers catches his eye, and then that's when they have the little, "Oh, I recognise you from whatever." Well, and they're just stood at the edge of the battlefield.
I feel they get a feeling. They're stood at the edge of the battle.
Yeah, I think they were perhaps lovers back in the day.
I wouldn't go that far.
Getting off with Matt Berry is what we all want. See,
well, maybe they just because that's the thing. I don't think they know. They've got no prior knowledge per se, but they have this sense. They know another actor is in the room when they see it. They see the charisma radiate off them, and I feel that relatability, that spark, is immediate. And maybe they've never met before. Maybe they have to fight to the death, and they know this. But maybe they just come together and just. I don't know how we could justify, they're both actors, so they immediately start making out with each other.
Well, us actors are a fruity bunch, aren't we, Max? I think, being actors, they concoct a scheme to try and fool even us as the mighty spectators. I think they plot for both of them to try and survive this by one of them playing dead. So my question is, when does that come into play?
So do they look at each other
straight away?
They kiss each other for no reason other than it's actors' intuition, and then they both feign their deaths and just collapse to the floor.
I don't think they do it immediately per se, but I think it's certainly a plan they'd concoct as actors. I think they're like, right, only one of us can win, so one of us play dead, the other one pretend to win.
I can buy Stephen Toast doing that once he figures out he can't find a way out.
Yeah. I do have another thing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Rivers would recognise the Eye Child. Now, he didn't support the Eye Child in the episode.
Yeah.
But does he still mourn his senseless, violent death? I think he has a bone to pick with
here's my thing.
Detective Rabbit.
I think Dixon Bainbridge and Rabbit Detective are wrestling. I think Stephen Toast finds a way, tries to find a way out, can't, pretends to die, makes it very dramatic. And hi, Tuppence.
Hello, Tuppence.
What do you think? Anyway, so I think Stephen Toast feigns his death, and I sort of, because Todd Rivers, as we said earlier, he's the more down to earth one. I think he sees Skipper, he sees a fight going on, he knows there's a fight to the death happening, so I think he gets his fake revolvers out and maybe holds someone hostage.
Yeah. I think now, before Toast plays dead, do they have a chance to talk? Because I think if Toast goes to leave, then he has this chat with Todd Rivers, who's just got a sense of the battlefield. Do they have a sense of, oh right, I'm going to pretend to hold you hostage, Toast? And then,
as much as I'd love that, I think Toast is seeing someone immediately come close. He sees that he's an actor, but he's unsure of his motive. So I think he, in front of Todd Rivers, just fakes his death immediately, randomly. Oh, the pain, collapses.
Okay, yeah, I buy that, because Toast is quite untrusting. So yeah, I buy that.
Is there a thing with Laszlo now that he's hung up on the rig, on the lighting rig, when blood is in the vicinity, does he get a taste for it, perchance?
I think it does make him hungry. I don't think he necessarily pounces immediately, but I do think it's agitating him. He's like, because he wants to get in there. He wants...
Because Douglas Reynholm has shot half his face off. There must be blood everywhere. And I think he's surely got to go for the blood, the sinking his teeth in attack.
Yeah. I actually forgot Douglas Reynholm was still going. So I think blinded Douglas Reynholm staggering around, blood pouring everywhere. It's not looking good for him. I think Laszlo makes his move. Yeah. I think he sweeps down, bites his neck, goes for a quick drink, and it's over. And Tuppence clearly agrees.
Yeah, very clearly. What do you think, Tuppence? What do you think? Okay, she's just sniffing. Right. We're going to go out.
All right. I will...
It's amazing. You barricade a door and they still fucking get in.
Cats, man. That's cats for you.
So, Douglas Reynholm's dead. Poseidon's dead. Skipper's dead. Dixon and Rabbit Detective are wrestling each other on the floor. Stephen Toast has pretended he's dead. Laszlo is sinking his teeth into Douglas Reynholm. And Todd Rivers is about to hold somebody hostage. Now, does he hold Music Matt Berry hostage or Star Wars droid hostage?
I think it's got to be Music Matt Berry. I think he looks at Droid from Book of Boba Fett and goes, "Oh, that's just a terrible prop. That's clearly not a real person."
I see. So maybe Star Wars Droid analyzes this in sort of a little bit like Stephen Toast tries to blend in as one of the set pieces, perhaps.
Yeah. He plays the long game, just lets the others duke it out.
I see. Okay, so
yeah, I think he takes Music Matt Berry hostage.
now this is the thing. He holds a fake gun to his head. I think Music Matt Berry doesn't know any better. He's going to be terrified. However, there was something I was thinking. If he takes Music Matt Berry hostage, one of our characters, as you've rightly said, is trying to be the hero, is trying to look out for the innocent man. Jackie Daytona sees this. Does he go behind Todd Rivers and just stick a toothpick in his neck? Sort of like a vampire, so symbolic maybe.
Yeah, I think he not even necessarily goes up behind him. I think he just charges towards Todd Rivers heroically, demanding he put down his hostage. Yeah. And when Todd Rivers can't use his prop gun because it's a prop, that's when he realises he's in a spot of bother.
Yes. So Jackie Daytona,
I think we have
either spikes him to death with a volleyball,
semi-brawl,
or toothpicks him. Oh, okay. So we've got two brawls going on.
I think we have a slight brawl here. Yeah.
So are they wrestling each other on the floor, rolling around? The volleyball cheerleaders cheering Jackie Daytona on, which is going to give him an advantage over his already super strength.
Of course. I think, because I think Todd Rivers has some extra advantages here. I think he can perhaps call upon the power of dodgy editing and weird continuity to suddenly change the stakes of the battle.
Gosh, we're being very fucking lenient with the superpowers these regular human people are getting.
It's Matt Berry, Max. I don't know what to tell you.
See, what I would say is Todd Rivers, I think, definitely uses the power of editing. However, I still wouldn't say it was strong enough to defeat a vampire in disguise. So
I think here's what happens. I think Jackie Daytona is seemingly about to just murder Todd Rivers just instantly with the toothpick, and then suddenly, after one weird cut, Todd Rivers has Jackie Daytona in a headlock, trying to put him to sleep. But Jackie Daytona don't need no oxygen, so he just toothpicks him in the eye, gets him straight in one of his eyes. Another semi-blinded character.
I think Jackie Daytona finishes him. I think he's no mercy. I think he blinds him.
I think he does.
Just toothpicks him to death. Or he gets the girls to hit up a volleyball to him, and he spikes it down on his head, rendering
I don't think he uses
them.
Yeah, I think he saves them. I think he saves the volleyball team for later on when he's in a real spot of bother. I don't think he needs it yet, because Todd Rivers he's done for.
In that case, so Jackie Daytona has murdered Todd Rivers. But what I would also say that now Laszlo has tasted blood. Now Jackie Daytona is focused on other means and dodgy editing. I think he turns around to revel in the plaudits of his volleyball team to see that Laszlo has murdered every single one of them. Sucked them dry.
Oh no. Oh no, Laszlo. Oh.
And they're all dead.
I don't know, because would they be on the field? If they're going to be summoned out of the ground, mummy style, would they be on the field yet?
I think they're not even meant to be here in the first place, so I think they get summoned sort of immediately. I don't think it's a power he gets to pick and choose.
Oh, okay, so they're doing the classic thing of, given that this is a film set as well, they're just waiting off stage.
They're cheering, they're the live studio audience, essentially.
Yeah.
But they've been massacred.
All right, yes. So they've been murdered off stage by Laszlo. Mm-hmm. Jackie Daytona, outraged, I think, goes for Laszlo. So we have a Laszlo versus Jackie Daytona.
Which is an interesting one, because if you've seen the show, Laszlo and Jackie Daytona are the same person.
What? Max,
I
what are you
know.
saying? Have you taken leave of your senses?
I know, right?
Insanity, man.
So, here's the thing.
Here's a question I pose to you, Max. You may have been about to say the same thing. Is a toothpick enough like a steak to be a valuable weapon against a vampire?
Well, what I was going to counter with, he has fire-breathing skills. So, what we're saying is he has a makeshift stick and sort of fire breath. Does Jackie Daytona kill Laszlo? Because they're well matched as well, because they've got the same strength.
Yeah.
It's just Jackie
I'm
Daytona
not sure
has the
Laszlo has
weapons.
much to counter.
I don't think he does either.
Yeah.
I think they maybe levitate into the air and have a sky battle, have a sky wrestle. But I think the toothpick again, stake through the heart.
I think here's how it goes down. I think he breathes the fire at Laszlo, which Laszlo says, "Oh fuck," throws him off his game. But they continue their sky wrestle slightly. Laszlo thinks he gets the upper hand by using his super speed to get behind Jackie Daytona. However, he's still got the toothpick, so he jabs it behind him straight through Laszlo's heart, and that's it.
Laszlo is eliminated.
Laszlo is dust.
Wow, so who do we have left? Jackie Daytona,
So
Music
we've
Matt
got
Berry, Rabbit Detective, Dixon Bainbridge, Star Wars Droid, and Stephen Toast. I think...
now.
So let's go back to the Dixon Bainbridge versus Rabbit Detective, because they've been wrestling for some time. And they're probably very
we've got
evenly
to
matched.
address that.
How does that go down?
Now, I think... Here's the thing. If it's been going on for a while, I think this is the heart problem coming into play. Because
I
a short
see.
brawl, Rabbit can take fine. But if they've been fighting for a while, I think his heart stops, and Detective Rabbit is dying on the floor.
Oh, wow.
The question is, does Dixon Bainbridge, punch him again because he's so furious, and in doing so, restart his heart? Or does he just realise what's happening and leave
I
him
think
to his
now he has
slow
the
and agonising
advantage
death?
and he's got that frustration out of him. I think the revolver moustache is coming out and he's capping a bullet.
Yeah.
So
He does have quite a thick skull. Detective Rabbit. So I do wonder if he fires the bullet, but it bounces off his skull and takes out Dixon Bainbridge, and they die side by side.
When you say he's got a thick skull, is that an in-canon thing? How does that work?
Oh, it's addressed directly in the show. Because he looks like, I don't know if they've done something with the prosthetics, but he looks sort of quite thick. And then there's another character who explicitly says, "Dear God, your skull, it's like Neanderthal-like. It's so thick. You must be some sort of
Well, if it's
primitive."
Neanderthal-like,
And then
I'm still
And then later on,
confident a bullet is piercing it. Unless in the
I don't know,
show
'cause-
a bullet is fired into his head and it ricochets back into the villain, I think
now that
Rabbit
is
Detective...
not explicitly seen.
I think Rabbit Detective
Right.
caps it. And maybe if it doesn't kill him, he then caps a few bullets in the heart as well.
See, here's the thing. You don't see a bullet bounce off. However, he does survive an explosion at point-blank range. So I don't know if that's going to speak for the strength of his
Well, I would say
skull.
if one bullet shot to the head doesn't kill him, I think Dixon Bainbridge, though I know little about this character, is shooting him in the heart and chest as well.
Okay, yeah. Here's what I'll grant you. He kills Detective Rabbit. He shoots him. However, the first bullet does still ricochet, but it hits him in the shoulder. So he's wounded, but he's not down.
Okay. He's got a tiny little wound. That it's going to make his battle with a literal undead being even more difficult. What's Music Matt Berry doing at this point?
So Music Matt Berry has just been held hostage at gunpoint, so he's a little shaken up, but I think he's got the sense now that, right, it's kill or be killed. So he's like, right, what can I do? I have 3 records. I have the power of music. So I think now who's closest to him at this point? Is it Jackie Daytona? I think Jackie Daytona is the closest.
Well, Jackie Daytona did save his life. Or has he seen Jackie Daytona kill a literal vampire and he's scared now?
I think he knows the rules now that however much Jackie Daytona did save him, he's also going to have to kill him at some point. So he's like, right. Okay. He gets ahead of the game slightly.
So what scenario I give is he gets his 3 vinyls out. Jackie Daytona is doing that slow, menacing vampire walk towards him. He throws the 3 vinyls. Very little damage is done. He hits him twice in the chest, shattering the vinyl and doing no damage, and then hits him once in the head, but it's really not going to hit that much. It's just going to annoy him. But just before Jackie Daytona savagely mauls him to as almost a last thing he can do. Someone so passionate, someone so loving of music, knowing he's got one final breath. I think he's gonna hum out a little. And of course, Jackie Daytona is familiar. Although we have a no prior knowledge rule, he is in canon familiar with this tune, and maybe it just puts Jackie Daytona off scent for now, and maybe puts towards a different. Or get this, it makes Jackie Daytona hesitate slightly, to which a tiny wolf bear creature bites into his arm and starts attacking him. Of course, this isn't going to hurt Jackie Daytona that much, but he is going to slam him off the floor and then curb stomp that wolf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's definitely what happens. Yeah, I think he kills the surviving wolf, rhino, whatever, beast. Yes. But I think whilst this happens, I think humming the theme has a second side effect, because Stephen Toast, in every episode, apart from Toast of Tinseltown, has a musical number. So I think hearing this theme compels him, almost like a voodoo style, like enchantment.
So he sits up,
summoned into action.
So we've got Music Matt Berry singing the sort of melody. Stephen Toast sort of does an Undertaker rise from the dead, starts singing the theme song. Meanwhile, this music is being played over Jackie Daytona curb stomping a little wolf rhino, and Dixon Bainbridge, seeing this, is going to also rugby tackle Jackie Daytona. So they're wrestling while Stephen Toast and Music Matt Berry are singing the theme of Toast of London. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm getting at, yeah.
I love it. And I think it makes sense that Jackie Daytona slams Dixon Bainbridge against the floor, and like his little wolf, curb stomps his head into oblivion.
I think so. I think it's symbolic, really, because the blood pours out of Dixon Bainbridge's shattered skull and merges with the blood of his wolf hybrid thing, and their blood itself combines, therefore symbolically making one last hybrid for Dixon Bainbridge as he dies. Exactly, yeah.
So we've got 2 people singing music, a cowboy vampire, and a Star Wars droid.
Now, I think Music Matt Berry has, at this point, got enough of a hold over Stephen Toast where he can puppeteer him as his, like, warrior from afar. And I think that's a very in-character thing to happen to Stephen Toast. So yeah, I think Toast is currently a puppet.
Makeshift tag team going on. Now,
yeah,
they haven't seen the droid. They've only seen Jackie Daytona. So, do we say I was just thinking, we either have the 2 musicians attacking Jackie Daytona, or we have Jackie Daytona listening to the melody behind them and also joining in as sort of like an a cappella.
I think he does join in because he does love a bit of a sing-song.
So we've got Music Matt Berry, Jackie Daytona, and Stephen Toast all harmonising, forming some kind of barbershop quartet. Well, it's not a quartet. Singing the Toast of London theme.
Now, the question is, do Music Matt Berry and Stephen Toast, well, I say but Music Matt Berry using Stephen Toast, does he try and get the drop on Jackie Daytona, or are they just having a good time?
Well,
is this a trick, or is this a genuine...
I think they're having a bloody good time. However, I also believe the Star Wars droid thinks this is his perfect opportunity to strike. So I think, whilst all three lads are distracted with their musical melody, Star Wars droid goes up to them and shocks maybe Music Matt Berry, distracting all of them immediately, and all of a sudden the singing is off, they're all within about a foot of each other, and it's all a fight to the death.
I think what happens is, he pokes Music Matt Berry, and it agitates him enough to, like you say, throw off the harmonising. But then, outraged that their great time has been called to an end prematurely, they all savagely turn to the Star Wars droid and just rip the little fucker apart.
Yes,
just
I think they
tear it apart.
The little fucker apart. Well, I believe, I think the droid is definitely torn to shreds by the Matt Berry trio. I would also say, now the illusion of Music Matt Berry is broken slightly, Stephen Toast is going to, again, feign his demise and collapse on the floor, dead.
So he plays dead again. But can Jackie Daytona's heightened senses pick up his heartbeat?
Almost definitely. To be honest, we're getting to the point where the final three is Music Matt Berry, Stephen Toast, and Jackie Daytona, two of which are normal people who are Stephen Toast failing as an actor, Music Matt Berry producing music. I feel Jackie Daytona, it's difficult at this point for Jackie Daytona to be defeated.
I think here's what happens. Music Matt Berry picks up a broken shard of his vinyl, like that bit in Endgame where Captain America picks up half of his shield and heroically charges at Jackie Daytona. Yeah. Jackie Daytona instantly just kills him.
It's just the
not even a
toothpick
contest.
Through the broken vinyl, shatters that, and then shatters Music Matt Berry's heart. Very symbolic.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. Poetry. I can see the shot now. It's poetry. It's Music Matt Berry is dead, leaving only two competitors.
Leaving an immortal being and someone who's playing dead.
Now, here's the thing. Are they both immortal beings? Because, as mentioned before, Stephen Toast has survived a number of things that should kill a mortal man. I'm pretty sure he's been blown up at one point. He's been thrown out of a moving car. He's had an arm chopped off and just attached it again. So, this is going to be an interesting fight.
As indestructible as he may be presented to be, I think he is less indestructible than Jackie Daytona will be. What I can theorise is that Stephen Toast, very desperate at this point, can maybe sit up, do the Undertaker sit up again, slow clap, and go, well, congratulations, you've survived my test. This has all been a charade created by me. This entire scenario has been a test to see who is the most elite Matt Berry. Who is Matt Berry, Jackie Daytona will say. Stephen Toast will wink at the camera. And I believe Stephen Toast can try and put on this charade and try and say, well done, your freedom's granted, you may go on. But this charade ain't lasting long. And I believe Jackie Daytona is absolutely annihilating the fucker. And if he struggles to die, it just means it's going to be a more painful beatdown where he separates him limb from limb.
Yeah, I think what happens is, like you say, he pulls off the charade attempt, and I think it works for a while because not Laszlo, who am I talking about? Jackie Daytona is not the smartest.
Exactly.
So I think it lasts for a little while, but I think what blows it is that Stephen Toast does not understand the true power of Jackie Daytona. So like swings a punch at him, thinking it's going to like knock him out. And then Jackie Daytona just brushes it off and goes, I see what you're attempting here. And then, he rips off Toast's arm. Toast is, he's in pain, but he's not down. He then swings another punch. He rips off his other arm. Toast tries to run away, and then Jackie Daytona just beats in Toast's skull with his own arms. And it's horrible, but that's just how it goes.
I think Jackie Daytona wins the Matt Berry Fightography.
I think so. Jackie Daytona is our champion for the Matt Berry Fightography, indeed.
He had lots of kills, didn't he? He killed Music Matt Berry.
He was just absolutely savage.
Star Wars Droid, Stephen Toast, Laszlo, Dixon Bainbridge, I believe. He killed quite a lot. He's got to be our sort of man of the match performance. I don't think that's in question.
I think so.
Because he went in as a strong candidate, but not the favourite by any means. And I think he's...
Oh, no.
He didn't even need his volleyball team, which died immediately.
I think it's a fair show. He's the absolute powerhouse of today's match.
Who do we
I think underperformer, I'd have to say Laszlo.
Yeah, again, it comes down to that thing, like as it did last week. Sometimes when you're the strongest, you make a target for yourself.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, underperformer Laszlo, man of the match, won Mr. Jackie Daytona.
Who else do you think
Anyone
did
we
well?
wish we'd... Who else did well?
I think Dixon Bainbridge did well.
Dixon Bainbridge.
I feel bad for King Poseidon as just an innocent creature, just being slaughtered. Skipper being curb stomped.
I think he deserved it.
He's the second wild card to go out first, really, and I feel that's a shame, but not inaccurate either.
No, I think we need to introduce like an overpowered wild card one week, where it's just some godly being just curb stomps everyone.
We'll find out. We can't be biased though. We've got to try our best to be as neutral and objective as possible. But yeah, the wild cards have not been serving us strong so far.
No, it's we'll have to try and balance it out, I think, because I don't think a wild card can win the Fightography. That's madness.
You never know. Star Wars Droid, I think, did the best he could. Music Matt Berry, maybe did a little bit better than I thought.
He did better than you'd think. I think Toast did pretty well.
He played the tactical game for such an idiot. He played the tactical game, but he played it in an idiotic in an idiotic way. So, yeah.
Overall, very solid performance.
And Jackie Daytona, I think, the natural winner of this week's Fightography.
I think so. I think he's the hero we all secretly wanted to win all along.
But not the one we needed.
Now, do you agree with our ruling? That's the question. I'll put another poll on the Twitter. I'll put it on Monday morning, so you should hopefully have time to listen to the episode first.
Yeah, cool.
Last week, spoilers for last week's episode, 100% of the people, last time I checked, agreed with Venom. So he was the favourite to win.
Yeah, yes, Venom won last week. I forgot who won last week. Yeah, Venom won the Tom Hardy Fightography. Well, CBB's...
It was a Venom hybrid, but...
It was a Venom hybrid, which has stirred up controversy. But again, I feel it was the natural play, as is Jackie Daytona. Now, all I can say now is Jackie Daytona versus Venom in a Champion of Champions. That's already lining up to be a swelter of a battle.
I can't wait. Similarly, on the wildcard front, we did have cries for justice for Megamind, so perhaps when he goes up against Skipper the Eye Child in the wildcard episode, do a little bit better.
Maybe that's going to be an interesting one. Just loads of kind of shitty aliens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's this week's Fightography, I suppose. The victory of Matt Berry's Fightography, Jackie Daytona from What We Do in the Shadows.
Indeed. Get in touch if you agree or if you disagree.
Feel free to send us an email. jazzlasagna@gmail.com.
You've got the Twitter, which I believe is jazz_lasagna. So
search
easy
Jazz
to
Lasagna,
find.
and hopefully you'll be able to find us. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have a YouTube channel where these podcasts go up, and Spotify. So yeah.
Indeed.
We're interested to hear your thoughts. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we'll see you next time on Fightography.
Bye-bye.